one punch, one single inexcusable mistake. And for Shilo Sanders, this wasn't just a 15-yard penalty. This was the moment his NFL career might have gone up in smoke. And one act of aggression that could have cost him everything he's worked for his entire life. And just days ago, Shilo Sanders was the kind of underdog story the league loves. And an undrafted rookie who fought his way onto the Tampa Bay Buccaneers roster. He was making plays, impressing his coaches, and looking like he belonged. But head coach Todd Bowles, one of the best defensive minds in the game, had even praised him, calling him very aggressive, very young, very hungry. But now, less than 24 hours after being thrown out of a preseason game, he's been waived. And how did it all unravel so quickly? And what does this whole mess say about the brutal, unforgiving nature of the NFL, especially when you are a player on the bubble? Let's break it all down. So to really get what happened, you have to look at the flashpoint, right? It was the second quarter of the Bucks' first preseason game against the Buffalo Bills. The play was over, but the action wasn't. Sanders was tangled up with the Bulls tight end Zach Davidson, while with both guys pushing and shoving downfield. Now Davidson wasn't innocent here. He kept his blocking going well after the whistle, and some angles show his hands getting in Sanders' face mask during the scrap. But in the NFL, um, provoking or provocation is never an excuse. In a split second, Shilo Sanders lost his cool and threw a punch at Davidson right in plain view of an official, and the flag flew out instantly, and there was no argument, no discussion. It was an automatic ejection. And while Davidson didn't give a formal statement, he was seen making a too small gesture after Sanders was tossed. Adding a little salt to the wound, regardless of the buildup, the punch itself was the critical error. And it's a line you just can't cross, a total loss of discipline that for a player in his exact size or his exact position, I should say, proved to be catastrophic. And that long walk to the locker room wasn't just the end of his night, it was the start of the night for his time in Tampa Bay. Now, what am I talking about? Let's roll the clip. As you guys see, I will mute the audio due to copyright purposes, but you can see Shilo didn't just hit him once, he hit him twice. Boom, boom, right? And this is the angle that most people don't get to see. And as you can see from view, just being objective here and well grounded, having a well grounded approach, it looks like Davidson was defending himself. Like, look, bro, you're not about to just be small and think you going to just hit me with a banger and then hit me twice. I'm gonna defend myself, right? So the consequences didn't take long because after the game, Buccaneers head coach Todd Bowles was direct. He called the punch inexcusable. He said you can't throw punches in this league. They're gonna get you every time. And you gotta grow from that. That last part, you gotta grow from that, was a huge tell. And this wasn't just a penalty, it was a major lapse in professional judgment. Now, don't take my word for it. I'll show you guys what Todd Bowles had to say because I like to pull up the receipts. I don't like to just talk to talk. I like to actually show you guys what he said when it came to the whole Shilo Sanders thing. And now a lot of people are running into the Victim Olympics and saying, "Oh, they giving him a hard time. They've been giving Shiloh a hard time from the get go. They don't want this young man to play football. You know, he um he's just trying to play ball and they trying to stop him." And look, man, at the end of the day, we have to take our personal emotions out of it and being able to objectively assess the situation as what they are. And we're talking about the ejection. We're talking about Shiloh Sanders' actions, period. We're not going to put this whole thing as a monolith and try to make it like, oh, they're attacking them all together. These are Shiloh Sanders' actions, right? So we have to hold him accountable for where he stands. And we got to call it for what it is, right? Both sides, no matter what, I'm an equal accountability smoke giver. And I'm gonna leave it at that. So I'm trying to pull up the clip in regards of Todd Bowles saying something in regards of it. So I want you guys to hear what he had to say.
You know you can't throw punches in this league. I mean, that's inexcusable. They're gonna get you
You said the punch was inexcusable. They're going to get you every time. So I'll play it again just so you guys can hear. I know it's a little bit low due to the audio. I can't control that.
You know you can't throw punches in this league. I mean, that's inexcusable. They're going to get you every time.
Right?
Gotta grow from that.
And then what did you say to the officials after that? It looked like you were possibly trying to argue with them.
Talking about another play.
Okay.
There you go. So less than 24 hours later, the hammer dropped. News broke that the Buccaneers have waived Shilo Sanders for an undrafted rookie on a non-guaranteed deal. Waived is just the NFL's way of saying you're fired. Your locker is cleaned out, your contract is gone, and you put on the waiver wire when you're put on the waiver wire. So where any of the other 31 teams can pick you up. So this decision wasn't just about one penalty, it was about trust. Can we trust this guy to keep his head high in high stakes regular season game? Can we count on him not to make a selfish mistake that costs us a win? And for a player like Sanders, who was already fighting an uphill battle for a roster spot, the answer suddenly became a loud and clear no. And he had a golden opportunity to solidify his place on the team, and instead he gave the front office an easy reason to cut him when cuts are supposed to be the hardest decision to make. And this is what makes the story so tragic. This wasn't just some camp body. Shilo Sanders' journey to the league was all about grit and promise. He started out at South Carolina, making it a huge move to Jackson State University and the HBCU to play for his dad, Deion Sanders. At Jackson State, he wasn't just a last name, he was a legitimate star. In 2021, he was a monster in the secondary, grabbing 39 tackles and 4 interceptions, which earned him second team all honors, SWAC honors. And he became a leader on a defense that won back-to-back, SWAC championships. And then he followed his father to Colorado, where he continued to be a playmaker. And for those who don't know what SWAT is, I'm basically abbreviating it for the Southern Western Athletic Conference. But look, despite that, he wasn't picked in the NFL draft, but he didn't quit. He signed with the Bucs as an undrafted free agent, and by all accounts, he was making the most of it. And he was praised by coaches and even earned the respect of the veterans. All pro safety. Antonio Winfield Jr. took notice, saying he plays hard, he works hard, he really wants to learn, and he just wants to improve his game. And Shilo was carving out his own path, proving he belonged. And he was the underdog story in the making. But this whole situation is a brutal reminder of just how the thin line is between making a team and getting cut. And do you think the punishment fit the crime? Was waiving him the right call? Let me know your honest take down in the comments. And if you're finding this breakdown valuable, make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay on top of the stories like this from around the league. And of course, you can't tell this story without talking about the name on the back of the jersey. Being the son of the Hall of Famer, the one and only Deion Primetime Sanders, brings a level of pressure and expectation most rookies just don't have. And everything Shilo does, good or bad, is just under a microscope. He wins. His wins are bigger, but his failures are national news. And earlier in this preseason, Shilo joked that his dad wasn't impressed by his debut and wouldn't even accept his game jersey, laughing as he said, he's a Hall of Famer and he expects 30 times more. It was a joke, but it points to the impossible standard he lives with. And that pressure can be a huge motivator, but man, it can also be a heavy weight to carry. And this wasn't just any rookie losing his composure, all right? This was the son of Coach Prime, a man who preaches discipline, accountability, and playing smart and making a very public, undisciplined mistake. And fair or not, that attaches itself to the entire Sanders brand. And the story is now more than a player getting cut. It's another chapter of one of football's most famous family sagas. And maybe the biggest fallout from this punch goes way beyond Shilo Sanders himself. His journey as a big name player who chose to play at HBCU was a huge deal. It was part of a powerful movement led by his father to bring more eyes, money, and respect to HBCU football programs. Every big play he made was a win for that cause. But here's the harsh reality of the NFL. The margin for error for players from smaller schools is razor thin. And they often have to be twice as good and half the trouble. And Shiloh's release is a painful reminder of that. At A first round pick from a powerhouse program might get a second chance after a mistake like this, and an undrafted free agent from an HBCU background, um, they often don't get the same benefit of the doubt. And it's not even about the HBCU background. It's just this single moment of frustration could unfortunately feed into the biases that some coaches and front office might already have. And it risk becoming exhibit A in a debate about the discipline of players from non-traditional paths. And it's not just about Shiloh's career, it's a cautionary tale for every underdog athlete out there. It shows the incredible pressure you're under to be perfect because your actions can create ripples for everyone trying to follow you. So what's next for Shilo Sanders? His future is completely in the air, but the road back to the NFL roster just got a whole lot steeper. And he'll have to hope another team claims him or maybe signs him to a practice squad. But the video of that punch is now attached to his name. He's no longer just an interesting prospect. He's a player with a charter flag. And this is a story about how fast your dream can get derailed. It's about impulse, professionalism, and the cutthroat business of pro football. One moment of frustration has potentially undone years of work from South Carolina to Jackson State to Colorado, all the way to the edge of NFL dream. And the path forward for Shiloh isn't about his talent anymore. It's about proving he's learned a very hard lesson in emotional control. See, a lot of times when you have an individual like this, he comes up where a successful family member, a great father. I'm not taking that from him, who gave him the resources because that's what it's about as a parent. And me as a father, I want to give my child the best resources. So I understand. And I understand that maybe he have some attributes of his coach primetime Deion Sanders, his father, where he's confident. And primetime has known to be having said, and I'm not quoting it word for word, I'm just summing it up, that he said, I'm just confident. I'm not arrogant, but at the end of the day, don't let my confidence disturb your insecurities. So sometimes that confidence can turn to pride. And you have to know how to humble yourself because you cannot overdo anything. You cannot be overconfident. You cannot be over humbled. People will take advantage of you. If you're overconfident, you'll think you're the stuff and you're above the program. You're not above the program. Professionalism is what it is, and that's where it stays. So I'm being very objective here. Should this be an NRBR? No. Young man, you know, a long-term asset to be, years and years to play. Do I believe he'll get a second chance? Of course. But it's about showing maturity. That maturity Coach Bowles talked about. His story now has become one of redemption. Can he bounce back? Can he convince another team this was a one-time mistake and not who he really is? And also, I want to put in to factor. We don't know how Shilo Sanders acts behind the scenes with the front office. Is he cocking his chest out, you know, being big headed, thinking he know everything because his dad was Deion Sanders? Not saying that he mentioning his dad is Deion Sanders that they don't gotta listen. I mean that he don't gotta listen. I'm not saying that that's the case that his father made him prideful because he a grown man. But I'm saying has he took it amongst himself to not exhibit emotional control and use the wisdom wisely from his father, but also understand that your father ain't gonna always be there to hold your hand? I'm sure Prime Time have taught him that. But a comeback is possible, but the road is long and the stain won't be easy to wash away. So let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. On that note, family, peace.